were able to escalate their site privileges, lock everybody out, log into the site, deface it, and take over, right? So when people often ask about security, tell this story, because people are going to say, is the software secure? Is the server environment secure? Are the Dobermans this high? Are the biometric devices this good? But at the end of the day, if you read Kevin Mitnick's book, half of your security vulnerabilities are going to come through social engineering. They're going to come from your employees who are disgruntled. They're going to come from those content editors who you gave full HTML permission to because they kept bugging you about embedding YouTube videos, and you said, I'll just let that person add an image to a file that I think is on my servers, but it's actually on their buddy's servers, and then they'll change that file that we're embedding into our site to be a JavaScript widget that will then get root on the site when they get fired. Okay. These are the kinds of things that you really have to worry about. And so knowing that story and convincing people that we're serious about security at Drupal and we understand system security, we understand risk analysis, we understand process is critical to getting adoption. All right, how am I doing for time? Half past, okay, I'm good, okay. All right. The second thing that people who've spent a lot of money, and you go into these meetings and you basically look at them and they basically, you kind of get a sense of how many zeros they've just blown, right? They either deployed their platform in 2000 or they deployed it in 2004. They've got 3 or 4 people on staff who are full-time developers just tweaking the platform. They've got their ops team and stuff like this. And basically what they've discovered is they bought into a proprietary system with proprietary protocols that they cannot connect to anything else, right? Therefore, when marketing comes down and says, please deploy an Android app, they go, yeah, we have no way to get Android to talk to this system, or we have no way to get iPhone to talk to the system. So the thing that you got to convince them about is that because the Drupal community is effectively building the internet, I mean, we really are changing what the internet is. If you look at the fringes of the Drupal community, we are now so deeply embedded at the forefront of the emerging technology in the internet that we're actually defining what the internet is going to be and what it's going to become, and we're helping to set the standards. So we were the first major project to do OpenID. You know, we're going to be the first major project, if you read the press lately, we're going to be the first major project that's going to enable hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of sites to support the semantic web with RDFA, right? We're pushing this stuff forward and getting adoption. So convincing these customers that we support open standards and that whatever they do and whatever they put into the Drupal site, they're going to get, you know, the benefits of this enterprise integration to be able to use open standards is really important for them because they're going to be able to avoid the lock-in and the pain that they've suffered for the last several years. And we do that through a bunch of different ways. XML RPC is native. We do, if you add the web services module, then you can do SOAP, you can do AMF. If you're not familiar with AMF, it's the Flash integration, but it was built by Adobe so that Flex could integrate with Drupal. So you have these rich internet applications, and we'll see this, you know, further go on to some whatever the new HTML5 standard will be. And then you can always pull pages through Drupal through the REST architecture, which just means one URL means one page, and that's very important as opposed to like these ASP or Java applications where you can't point at a URL and get data back. So being able to get and tell application architects, whatever systems you have inside your enterprise that exist, and they all have lots of them, this is how you can connect to Drupal using all these open standards, and you're going to be able to get what you need. It's critical. And we need to be able to exchange data, right? This is the other thing. You got to be able to connect the live system, so that maybe that's an authentication system, maybe it's a custom Java application. Now, I went into a healthcare organization, and I asked them what it would take to move all their stuff to Drupal. They said they had 15,000 hours of custom development inside their organization, and there was no way that they could move all their applications to Drupal. But they could get that stuff to talk to Drupal, and they could start prototyping and moving data into Drupal. And so we talked to them about moving data, interchange and authentication, so they can grab it. You know, XHTML is what Drupal puts out from the theme layer. RSS, they can subscribe to it. A common pattern is universities basically having a marketing department and saying, go Aust or go Texas, and then they want that go Texas message from the chancellor at the university to basically go out to all 800 sites on campus. So they use RSS to push that data out, or they use the feeds module to make it appear as first-class content. XML RPC, you can connect and remotely execute XML, JSON, which is a JavaScript data, and then RDFA. Drupal 7 is going to be a real game changer. And then you can do OpenID, you can do Drupal native. If you go to Drupal.org modules page and pull up authentications, you're going to see 60 or 70 examples of authentication modules that can plug into Drupal that can tie into these enterprises. And that will allow them to pull the data into Drupal or push out to Drupal. Yeah, you can see that one. The biggest example that we've done, I pushed Matt's team really hard to get this story out early, even before they launched, but we've got a white paper on acquia.com/resources that talks about a 10-page white paper about how to migrate your site to Drupal. We've also got a case study and another white paper about this. But they moved 1 million pages, they moved 1 million comments, 500,000 slideshows, 800,000 images, and 300,000 user-created content tags over to Drupal from a Cold Fusion stack and Oracle stack, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, that was a huge, huge job, but it really showed how far we've come in terms of our ability and thought and understanding of what it takes to do it. And Moshe, there's a company called Curve, and Moshe is like, I think, users 24 in the Drupal community. And you know, he's written and decided to focus on this really important niche. And I'm working on deals. Kevin didn't make it, did he?
No,
Okay,
he's skiing.
Okay, Kevin's skiing. So Kevin and some of the folks in the room who used to work for Ping Vision had worked on a mass migration of 50 sites from
Bonnier?
From Bonnier, yeah, and off of Vignette 7, I believe.
Yep.
Moved 50 sites off, and there was a lot of understanding and knowledge and stuff like that. I'm working on a deal right now, trying to get irs.gov to move to Drupal. They're trying to move off of Vignette 6. Okay, so these things, you know, the scale and caliber of things we're really good at. So you can go watch the webinar, download the paper, and then basically see this. And what's critical is you don't have to move all your data wholesale. And what they did was they basically moved a large chunk of the data at once, ran those 2 sites in parallel, and then every night they would update to just try to sync them while they're doing QA. Are we moving the data over? And you just do that 9,000 times, and then just QA and QA and QA until you realize, okay, the sites are now running in parallel. Great, perfect. The Drupal site's ready. Okay, flip over. Right?
Yep.
Most of these big organizations don't do a wholesale flip over. Most of the big organizations will say the commenting is now Drupal, the forums are now Drupal, some of the front page is Drupal, some of the blogs are Drupal. They'll do it incrementally. So you've got to be able to sync these 2 systems as you're migrating the data over. Okay, we're getting close to the end. This one's really important, particularly as we move and do more business in Europe. We're getting our butts kicked in Japan right now. We're really dying in Asia. Joomla owns Asia to a large extent right now. You go look at the traffic numbers off of Joomla.org, and it's like 60% of the traffic comes out of Indonesia. If you don't know much about Indonesia, they have 800 million people in Indonesia, and they're a growing market fast. They're low cost, they're competent, very well organized, and they're deploying and building absolutely everything under the sun in Joomla. And you know, so their support for languages, and they had all, like Drupal, they had a co-founder who was Belgian and worked a lot on internationalization early on. So the ability to support multiple languages, particularly for enterprises that have to, you know, their way to grow their business is effectively to grow multilingual, right? They basically say, we're going to stand up this content and we're going to deploy. So my favorite example and my favorite artist of all time is, of course, Britney Spears. And if you go to Britney.com, you go to Britney.com and you look on the page, you can basically see a drop down on the right-hand side that basically says, you know, languages, right? And so what happens is Sony Music has a Britney album, they have a Britney album come out, and then basically they build the platform at Sony Music, and when Britney goes on tour and she flies to Buenos Aires, the PR team or the marketing team in Buenos Aires can basically go and then stand up that instance, go into the Britney.com site and then translate the content into Spanish and add the stuff about her event and tour dates there. And then when she flies to Sao Paulo, then they can translate it into Portuguese. And then when she goes to Japan, they can translate it to Japan. So there's 30 languages right there. So that ability for enterprises